Hey, welcome to the shop. So today I thought we'd talk about electrical supplies and the stuff that you're going to run into on an everyday basis. You don't need as much as I have because we're doing everything from tractors right down through the lawnmowers. And as you stay in business longer, you use stuff longer, then you can start building the kits the way you want it. But hang tight, we'll be right back. So let's start with the two biggies here. These are the big boxes, and let me get over this way. And I have them out to show you. I mean, this kit here is all the different sizes, but the specialty of this kit is that they're waterproof. You can heat shrink them, so you have less issues with them. Are they more expensive? Yeah, but when you get into certain things, you want a little bit of extra money to spend because you're going to need to be able to heat shrink. Anything electrical, that can short out. These are always handy for if you're doing electric, like 110 or, and all different size wires is important. Now, this here is basically the same set, but it's a lot cheaper. And when I say a lot cheaper, I mean it still has expense, but you're not heat shrinking them. They don't need to be waterproof. These will work on anything on your lawnmower, most places. And you just pick the size depending on the gauge wire that you have. And I find, when I first started, I would go to Walmart and I would buy like the 20 packs and I would build me little kits. But then as we started using them a lot more, I just went ahead like through Imperial and I bought this complete set and that complete set along with another one because we use them a lot. Alright, so now we got two big boxes out of our way. The nice thing is having the stuff there when you need it, right? And having it organized. I think Jason is probably the most organized person I've ever seen with his totes. And I love it. And you were my inspiration, Jason, to get the shop kind of cleaned up. So, I mean, if you have everything organized, labeled, so you know where it is, just the time you're wasting hunting for stuff. Now, you take Claude for an example. He's got there's a method to his madness, okay? I haven't quite figured it out. But I can go out there and I can't find anything. But he'll turn around and say, there it is, there it is, there it is. When I get done, I put it back so I know where it is. And I have boxes in there telling me what size. And if they get dirty, clean them off and then put them back in between every job instead of keeping them out and then going to a different job and then starting a bunch of other tools on that. You'll lose tools that way. So when we're talking like electrical stuff like that, I think I've showed this to you guys before. There's a couple different versions of it, but this is just like an auto start. So you can put this one on one side of the solenoid and like right here. Alright, so this is a standard solenoid, okay? And while we've got it in our hand, you have a 3-post or a 4-post. This is a 4-post. If you're limited on what you can afford to keep in stock, go with the 4-post. Why do I say that? I say that because if you only need 3, use 3. If you need 4, use the 4. And a lot of times what the 3 is it grounds through here instead of through here. If you have a 4-wire system, it just means that that fourth wire is grounding to the frame somewhere or grounding to the system. But you can use a 4-post on a 3-post setup. You don't need this extra post. And they're both about the same cost when it comes to either 4 or 3. So instead of buying like 2, one of the 3 and one of the 4, just buy one of the 4, and then when you use it, buy another one and replace it so you don't have a bunch. But with these here, you can set it on one side of the post. Let me just pop this out here. Like this, the other side like that, and then instead of trying to reach over and hit the key switch and like that, you're just simply, you can fire it from here. You can turn it over. And they are handy as heck. They're called remote starters. Harbor Freight is where I got this one. Alright, so since we're on the solenoid switches, how does it work, when it comes to your system? Well, your system comes from the battery and will come to one side, right? And then you're going to have another heavy wire going to, let's use this nice, what is it? Kawasaki brand new starter. Oh yeah. And it has a post right here on the side. So let's just set it here. And you got the battery cable coming from the positive side over to here, okay? And then you have another wire going from here to here. Now, the only time that these two, with this on a 3-wire, which would be this one, wouldn't matter. This one is fine. What it does is it sends a thing saying connect the two. And when that, it's getting the impulse from your key. Your key, when you power it, you're putting power to this side, and it's just telling the two to come together and send the juice over to your starter, which will engage your starter. I always tell people, don't make it any more complicated than what it is. It is what it is, just keep it in the simplest form, right? Alright, so we all know what a starter is, we all know what a solenoid is, and we all know what a key switch is, but there's so many different variations of keys. And the same goes for PTO switches. These are not all the same. Just because it has the same amount of plugs does not mean that it will work in your unit. So if you've got a Sears or a Husqvarna, and with one of these, good chances are they'll interchange, alright? But if you have a Simplicity, it's going to be different. And you can fry a system by hooking this up wrong. So we know what a key switch is, now we know what a PTO switch is. So one of the big things that you should stock are battery terminals. Now, granted, some of your lawnmower ones are a lot smaller posts where you just thread down, tighten it on. But if you work on tractors and the bigger lawn and garden equipment, a lot of them you got to use battery ends. And we buy them by the 10-pack. Actually, I buy 20 at a time because we go through so many of them. And that's probably the biggest fault that I see with most people, is they never take the battery post off and clean it. Get all that oxidation out of there, so that it's going to do two things for you. It's going to allow that battery to charge better with it coming in through your stator, right, in your regulator. And it's also going to give good contact for you when you hit the switch to engage the solenoid, to engage the starter, right? So this is one of the big things that I see that are neglected, that most people don't do. And a lot of times you'll say, well, it's not charging my battery, so my battery must be bad. A lot of times it's not your battery, folks, it's your connection. And if these aren't clean, you will not get a good charge on that battery because it hasn't got what it needs. All right, some of the other things that kind of come in handy and stuff, and these are basically, this is a battery disconnect. Now, we use them on tractors and bigger stuff, but they're handy because you can take, and while the key is in the on position, you have juice coming across, right? But if you turn it off, the key pops out. That means there's no juice. And if you have like a farm tractor, we use them on excavators, dozers. If you have a piece of equipment that seems to be drawing while the key switch is off, you can put this between the battery and the main system so that you're not getting any charge across the system until you actually turn this on, and then you get power. All right, and that's another way to keep from people from starting your stuff, is if you take the key out and you have it on your key ring, right? But this is more for the bigger stuff, guys. What other stuff are you going to run into? Inline fuses. We buy them 10, 15 at a time, and they come in this loop. And I had one guy ask me, well, how do you use it if it's in a loop? It's in a loop so that you can just take, cut it, strip it, and like that. You do them enough, you get fast at it. And they're made like this so that you can connect them in line. That's why they call them inline fuse. And this here, you guys have probably seen them. They come in all different colors, you know, like this is a 30 amp, which is green. 15, blue. 30, green. 10 is red. And 20 is yellow. On most of your lawnmowers, if you can't get it to do anything, all right, it'll turn over, but it won't. Some of them you can turn them over, some of them you can't. But right there by the steering column, lift the hood up, look in by the steering column, and a lot of times you will see an inline fuse system with a fuse in it. And if there's a draw on that system or a low voltage spike or whatever, it will take that fuse out and you won't be able to start it. So check that fuse. That could be a simple fix. But this, in the same token, I've seen a lot of guys just throw a fuse in it and never try to figure out what the problem might have been that caused the fuse to blow. And I've even seen shops, don't let it be you, that had a 15 amp in the circuit and they decided to throw a 30 amp in it so it would stop it from blowing. It would take it more. Well, you just increase the odds of something catching fire, getting hot, and overloading the circuit. You know, it was made for that 15 amp breaker, keep it a 15 amp. If it's made for a 20, leave it a 20. And like I say, they're very easy to use. They're very easy to install. If you're putting it on a new piece of equipment that you want to have an inline fuse in, like even your car radios are handy to have an inline fuse. All right. So we got that covered. Of course, a good pair of nippers. I like these. Claude's got another pair of strippers out there that are, you know, are different, but I'm so used to using these. When I worked in the mines, I had them around my belt. And the reason I have them on my belt is because once I got my round loaded up with explosives, then you're constantly trimming wires, all right? And you take it all the way out to the end of the drift and you wire it into the board, they called it. and then you guys went all the way out to the, let's say, 25 station, and then there's a big board, and on that big board, that's where you fire the shot, so that nobody's back in there when they're firing. We know everybody's out and accounted for, and then it's up to you, if it's your round, to connect it and let it go off. But this was a right-hand man. I mean, I use these all the time, and I like them, and that's why I continue to use them. You can get this style here, and you can use it for wire cutting, and then wire stripping, and then also for crimping based on the color. You know, your red is 18 to 22, your blue is 14 to 16, and your yellow is 10 to 20 gauge. Different style switches that you may want to put in. There's this style, you know, and when it's in the on position, this stays up, and when you want to shut it off, you just simply flip that down and the switch is in the off position. This is a momentary on, where in the center it's off, but you can go this direction for on or this direction for on. Handy to have around, and you'll find places to use them. Of course, we all know what a test light is, and if you're looking for, you know, to see if anything's positive, you put this on the ground and you wait for it to light up, and you can do it the other way. Put this on the positive and look for grounds to see where, if you're getting contact or not. These are a good set of nippers. Again, they work well, you know, when you're trimming stuff. And then, of course, a pair of black tape, you know, to tape up your loose ends so that you're not having them exposed. One of the things that you may want to consider when it comes to, you know, your wire ends and stuff, and that is soldering them and soldering them together, and that way you don't get that greenish gunk that builds up, and then it makes the line all brittle, and then you lose contact. By soldering them, you don't get that. So hopefully this hasn't been too much thrown at you. I just wanted to throw a quick video out there of the different things when it comes to electrical and battery and things you can use, tools that you have available to you. I know you have more that you may have. Post it in the comments that I may have missed. But this is kind of my go-to when it comes to electrical. So on that note, you guys have a great day, and thanks again so much for watching and supporting the channel.